forces in Ukraine, will it succeed in rebuilding after its losses, and what kind of threat does that represent to American security interests?
Sure, Senator. Thank you. So if we divide Russia's rebuilding capability into two big blocks, personnel and equipment, I believe the personnel they'll be able to build as quickly as they want to. They continue to maintain a conscription. You saw that just last week, the Russian government announced its annual conscription drive. It increased by 10,000 over last year, 160,000 this year. With those numbers, they will be able to constitute the force size that they choose fairly quickly. Be a little tougher, take them a little bit more time to organize it into the sort of organizations that they have said they want to build after the war. They want to have an army of about 1.5 million, they've announced. They want to put a lot of it on the border of NATO and northeastern Europe. It'll take them a little bit of time to do that, but we're talking a couple of years. Equipment, that depends on how much more they lose inside Ukraine, sir. They've lost a vast amount of equipment inside Ukraine. They started the war with someplace near 13,000 tanks on active and in storage, and they're starting to approach near the end of that, near the end of the useful tanks in storage. So depending on how much more they lose, that will really determine how quickly they can regenerate. They have expanded their capability to produce some things, artillery shells, cruise missiles, tremendously, and they're producing some things such as one-way attack drones in prodigious numbers that they weren't even producing at all before the war.
And I would characterize that capability as offensive. In other words, they're not defending against a possible invasion from Ukraine. They are preparing for continuing offensive actions against Ukraine and possibly NATO allies if they are successful in Ukraine.
And I would add to that, Senator, that this is not just in the ground domain. They have long-range aviation that practices daily, moving out and doing strikes across North America. They have their strategic ballistic missile fleet, their road mobiles that are constantly out there, and they have their submarine fleet that's constantly out there. So it's not just in those domains. And then there is, of course, the cyber domain, in which they're very active. We can talk about in closed session, sir.
Just one last question, General, because I've heard from some of the critics of our military aid to Ukraine that there are significant numbers of weapons embezzled, stolen, missing from the aid that we're providing Ukraine. On every one of the visits, I've been to Ukraine 6 times now, I've talked to our military and logistics folks in Poland, and they are tracking virtually every bullet that we have provided to Ukraine, and there's no evidence whatsoever of this kind of misconduct or misappropriation of our aid to Ukraine. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do agree with that, Senator. There will be a challenge locating all of it later. All of us have been in combat, realize that it's pretty easy to misplace things and to lose track of things, but we've seen no deliberate effort to transfer, sell, or steal weaponry. The Ukrainians are using it to defend their country.
My hope is that Russia will take seriously the efforts to peace and stop stonewalling and slow walking negotiations, but right now they seem to be playing us and playing for time. And I want to thank you again for your incredible service, both of you, to our great country. Thank you.